hundreds of people are cruising towards a cannabis business after winning today's lottery.
But as legal weed becomes more accessible, law enforcement is dealing with the complicated issue of determining when someone is driving high. A 2024 survey from AAA found that nearly 85% of weed users say they drove the same day as they used, and 53% say they used within an hour of driving. In Talking Points, Esme Murphy looks at how law enforcement enforces the driving while under the influence of marijuana laws.
Marijuana has been legal in Minnesota since August of 2023. A Minnesota pilot cheek swab testing found that 87% of those pulled over for suspected driving under the influence of drugs tested positive for at least one drug, the most common, marijuana.
A lot of what we do is educating the public on that. So some of these laws, they came very fast. They are confusing, so that is part of our job as well.
For the cheek swab test, troopers are looking at what's called Delta 9.
The oral fluid devices only test for Delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the active ingredient in cannabis.
And why is it important to test for Delta 9?
Again, Delta 9 is the primary ingredient in cannabis. That is what causes impairment.
But the swab test is not admissible in court.
If there is suspected products or substances other than alcohol, law enforcement would apply for a search warrant and obtain a blood or urine sample from that driver.
One way drivers might end up having a search warrant issued for their blood or urine is that the marijuana they have is not stored in the vehicle in the legal way.
Our law is very clear. If it is not in the original container or if it's been opened, it has to be in the trunk or furthest most back area of the car.
Esme Murphy joining us now. Do they have actual statistics from post-August 1st, 2023, when the law came into effect?
They don't, and this is why. They say they're working on it. Part of the problem is that 62% of those pulled over for drugged driving had more than one drug in their body, and that usually is a combination of alcohol, marijuana, methamphetamine, and amphetamine. So breaking it out for just marijuana is incredibly difficult.
And then you mentioned the detection of Delta 9. So doesn't marijuana stay in your system for a long time? So couldn't you test positive for Delta 9 when you used it even days ago?
Yes, it does stay in your system for a long time, and this is one of the tricky questions here. What the State Patrol says is the swab test comes back for Delta 9, meaning the active ingredient marijuana is in there, then it gives the trooper what he or she needs to get a search warrant for a blood or urine sample. That's what can be used in court. The BCA can then break down that sample, the blood or urine sample, into what's called metabolites, and there are several in each sample. The one that stays in your body the longest doesn't break down, does not cause impairment. It's complicated. I mean, yeah, it's really complicated.
It's a lot to take on.
Yes.
And people might have missed this part. Didn't Minnesota pass a law that law enforcement cannot search a vehicle just based on the odor of marijuana?
They did. It was a big decision by the Minnesota Supreme Court in 2024. They ruled that law enforcement cannot use the odor of marijuana as the sole reason for a search of a vehicle. They have to be able to document at least one other reason for the search. For example, marijuana not in a proper container sitting on the front seat. That happens apparently a lot. This particular issue of the odor is one that is highly contested in many, many cases across the state.
Interesting. Now, the trooper said at the beginning of your story that much of their job is about educating the public, which seems a little lenient coming from a law enforcement perspective.
It was really interesting. He said that a number of times. And what I took away from that interview is the sergeant actually said that the State Patrol believes these laws are so new that much of the public doesn't know them or is confused by them. So in some cases, you may end up getting just a lecture or a warning instead of a ticket or even an arrest.
All right, Esme, thank you so much. And you can see more of Esme's conversation right now or anytime by going to our YouTube channel. Just search for Talking Points.